morning and welcome back to the Done Deal show with Ben Jacobs and I. Lots to talk about today with Lavia. Will it be Chelsea? Will it be Liverpool that he decides to go to, as both clubs are working hard on that deal? Updates on Caicedo, Olise, Maguire, Neymar and Paqueta as well over the course of this show. But first, before and foremost, Ben, how are you, my friend? Long time no speak.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm in Saudi Arabia. Hopefully the internet connection holds up. But tonight I'll be seeing Al Ittifaq against Al Nassr, which is Steven Gerrard, Jordan Henderson against Sadio Mane, Cristiano Ronaldo. So excited to see the first week of the Saudi Pro League season, and obviously even more buzz in the last 24 hours because Neymar is off to Al Hilal.
And that's 100% happening now. He will be in Saudi next year, Neymar.
Yeah, so Neymar's undergoing the first part of his medical at the moment in Paris, and he will sign a 2-year deal. And this is interesting because it's a story that myself, Jonathan Johnson and James Benge for CBS exclusively broke in June, that Neymar was the #1 star name that was going to be approached to effectively replace, in inverted commas, Lionel Messi. Straight after he chose Inter Miami, a delegation went to Paris to explore whether Neymar would be willing to do this deal. And the early answer was either no or wait, because Neymar wanted to assess preseason at PSG and ideally stay in Europe. And we've seen this with a few Saudi players now, Bobby Firmino, Sadio Mane, and the pattern is clear. Players that said no earlier in the summer are either tempted by second thoughts because of the package, and with Henderson, for example, a bigger offer was made after he rejected his bid, or they're just seeing this influx of players and saying, hang on a minute, when you first made the offer, there was no real reason to go. But now looking at the lineup, each of these big Saudi sides has suddenly got 4 or 5 very decent players. And with the raised standard and exposure, a player like Neymar has maybe been persuaded. So that's for him to say after the move happens why he joined. But what I can say is that the first part of the medical is ongoing. The second part will take place in Dubai, I believe. And then he will fly over to Saudi Arabia for an unveiling. And the package is quite comparable to Cristiano Ronaldo. So it's around 100 million euros in terms of wages. But then on top of that, there's the ability to double up to 200 million euros in terms of all earning opportunities. So this is a very significant deal for Al Hilal. And it's another example of stars going over to Saudi Arabia because they feel like it's the right timing for them, it's the right finances for them, it's the right move for their career. So what we have now is a situation where the Saudi Pro League can market Ronaldo versus Neymar in Riyadh, and that's the point. And then over in Jeddah, they're trying to do exactly the same thing, create rivalries around these big 4 clubs. And that's sort of stage 1 of a very long-term Saudi strategy.
And as you say, that they're going for it, they're spending money. I actually think it's a good thing for the European clubs. I don't think in the short to medium term this league is going to take away from the prowess of Europe and the prestige of winning Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues. The majority of the players they're signing typically are nearer the end, the superstars, are nearer the end of their careers as opposed to the beginning. It actually means more money coming into European football, and it will spread itself around them because it's a transfer fee. The money's staying within football. So yeah, look, very, very interesting times ahead, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of eyes on Saudi and their league this year with the abundance of talent and stars and legends that they have over there, and it will probably overtake viewing figures of some of the smaller European leagues as well. So fair play to them. We know they know how to put on a show. We were both in, I know it's a different part of the Middle East, but we were there in Doha for the World Cup, and they put so much into that. So I'm sure the Saudis are going to do equally as well, or maybe not, maybe even bigger, because I believe there's more money there. So yeah, look, it's very, very interesting indeed. Viewers, let us know what you think and feel about the Neymar deal in the comments section. Please hit like buttons for us this morning as well. Let's get this stream past 1,000 likes while we are live on the air. Just in the interest of time, obviously, I wanted to touch on the Lavia situation, because we have seen reports in the last 24 hours that Chelsea have agreed a £55 million deal. It's now been confirmed, or it's gone out the news-wise, that a £60 million deal has been agreed by Liverpool. What's the latest as far as you understand, and where do you believe Lavia is leaning towards and will end up in terms of completing this deal?
Well, it's very fast moving, so I would expect in 24, 48 hours us to get full clarity on this one. Much like Moises Caicedo, even though it's not like for like, it's sort of swung between both clubs. And it's just going to come down to player choice. That's what's being indicated from Southampton. They're prepared to do a deal with both clubs. I'm not so sure that the Chelsea package in full, at least at the time we're live now, has actually been, in inverted commas, accepted. Southampton sources were speaking more over the weekend like it was close, and they believe that financially and structurally, that 55 offer with Chelsea was very possible of getting over the line. But Liverpool have now had an actual offer accepted for 60 million. So things are moving quite rapidly, but it's seemingly the case that Chelsea would still need a little bit of work and finalisation on their bid and structure, even though Southampton do indicate that they are prepared to accept that deal. And Liverpool now only have to work on the player side because they do have a package in place. So that's the difference in terms of the club-to-club side. But there's no real suggestion that either side can't get a deal or won't get a deal. Now, I think for Chelsea, it's about determining whether they genuinely want Lavia and Caicedo. And that is what has always been said. So if we take that at its word, then Chelsea will move and be as aggressive as possible. And from Liverpool's point of view, Lavia has obviously been on their radar for a little bit longer. And now, coming back to the player choice, we'll hear conflicting reports, which is normal, about where the player wants to go. And I think that the oscillation of interest is a big part in this, because Liverpool were working on Lavia for longer. And at that point, he made it clear that he was very open to that move to Anfield. And then Liverpool didn't agree a deal, believed at the time to be closer to 50 than 60 million. And that's what's interesting about the market. And when you get extra bidders, everything kind of just inflates. And I think that Lavia had a period where he maybe thought this isn't going to get done from Liverpool because they were bidding and bidding and bidding repeatedly. And that's when Chelsea swiftly came in and were more decisive. And that turned Lavia's head a little bit. But make no mistake, this is not quite like Caicedo, because with Caicedo, he really always had Chelsea fixed in his mind. So Liverpool were too late. Whereas with this dynamic, it's the other way around. And Liverpool were the ones that came to the table technically first this summer. But let's not forget, a year ago, Chelsea did make a very audacious £50 million bid to try and get Lavia right at the end of the last summer window. So clearly both sides see Lavia's potential. And it's crazy, really, because he's only played, I think, 25 odd Premier League games. So the fee's going to be over 2 million per Premier League appearance. So it's an investment in his future. And I just wonder, in terms of the pitch now, how Caicedo will influence things, because Liverpool have got a clear vacancy for a midfield destroyer in number 6, whereas Chelsea are going to be playing Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo. Where does Lavia fit into this 4-2-3-1 formation in terms of his game time? So there's a few considerations here, but the simple answer at this point is that only Romeo Lavia knows who he's going to pick. It's going to purely come down to player choice. And I think that we'll have an answer within 24 or 48 hours.
Yeah, it's certainly been the last 3 to 4 days with the Lavia Caicedo entanglement between Chelsea and Liverpool has been. And you are obviously a lot closer to this stuff than we are as fans. I don't remember a transfer saga involving 2 players, 2 clubs, world record breaking bids, the ebb and the flow changing so dramatically over a 3 or 4 day period. This, for me, this is unprecedented in terms of transfer activity.
Yeah, it's unprecedented, and it's just the modern window, and Chelsea have changed the market. And obviously Liverpool, Arsenal, even Manchester United, they're quite disciplined in their negotiation. They preempt what rivals are going to do and don't tend to get drawn into bidding wars. And that's how we've sort of described the market. And then with Newcastle, who may get more money over time if they qualify for regular European football, we've also seen a desire by Dan Ashworth and the team led by PIF not to be rash, not to be impulsive. But Chelsea coming in and disrupting deals, even ones that they don't succeed in, has influenced the approaches of Arsenal and of Liverpool and no doubt other clubs going forwards. And I think with Mudryk it meant that Arsenal had to make a decision very quickly as to whether or not they were going to match the Chelsea package or walk away. They chose to walk away, whereas with Liverpool, it was the opposite. And instead of just moving on, they actually played Chelsea at their own game with Caicedo, even though they were not successful. And they were the ones being very aggressive. It was a very un-Liverpool-like moment to brief repeatedly from various sources that they weren't going to move Caicedo. They liked the player, but not the price. And then when he was in January, 70, 80, 90 million or whatever the rumours were, and the Arsenal offer came in at that point, again, Liverpool said that's way too high. And suddenly they find themselves bidding a British transfer record. And no doubt Liverpool fans listening are wondering why that money materialised, and yet Liverpool said that it wasn't going to be used for Jude Bellingham. And I suppose the simple answer is just Bellingham also had the agent's fees and a much higher wage. So the overall package of Bellingham was still far more than Moises Caicedo. But now Liverpool are in a difficult position, because when you show your hand in the market and don't succeed, it can be used against you massively. One, because everyone now knows that Liverpool have got 111 million burning a hole in their pocket. And number two, everyone knows that Liverpool are desperate for a number 6 or a midfield destroyer. So you go back to Southampton and maybe say, we want Lavia. What about 49 million? What about 50 million? What about 51 million? And immediately Southampton will probably turn around and say, all along you've been trying for mid-30s through to early 40s, and all along you've had 111 million, and we saw you swoop in and use all of that for Caicedo. So now there's an extra 5-6 million on Lavia, and that's the kind of irony and the shock of the market for both of these transfers, even though Lavia, of course, is still progressing. If anyone had just gone right at the beginning of the window and said, here's 100 million for Moises Caicedo, they'd have ended up getting a 15 million discount. If anyone had gone to Southampton at the beginning of the window and said, here's your 50 million for Lavia, immediately after they'd have gone down, they'd have got a 10 million discount. But now we're at the point where Lavia might go for 60 million. Caicedo's gone for a total package of 150 million. And that is a reflection of the market being disrupted, of prices being inflated, and of sellers actually having a rare amount of ascendancy, because traditionally in terms of patterns, the January window is a seller's market, the summer window is a buyer's market. But in terms of actually getting prices and negotiating, the selling clubs, financially speaking, seem to have come out on top. We've seen that with Declan Rice. We've seen that with Moises Caicedo. We'll see that with Romeo Lavia. We might see that with Lucas Paqueta if he leaves Manchester City. And I think, therefore, clubs have to be very disciplined in who they want and what they're prepared to pay. Because once you show your hand like Liverpool, this is the knock-on effect. They've put that money down, and suddenly the Lavia fee they've agreed has had to have an increase of somewhere in the region of 14 million from their last bid. And as I said before, that's very un-Liverpool-like.
Yeah, listen, 110%. And look, we're getting all these updates coming through, like you said. According to Tom Roddy, who I know you'll be familiar with, Lavia has indicated a desire to move to Chelsea. People are saying that's just been published by him, and I'm sure there'll be reports saying things in the other direction. So it's a very, very intriguing deal, a very intriguing situation in terms of what direction this is going to go in. But you're right, it's been a very strange summer, and for years that the notion of low ball as the opening offers and work the selling club down has worked. This summer we've seen a few occasions where that hasn't come to fruition. And maybe we're going to see a complete change as the Saudi money enters European football through purchases, as the Premier League continues to grow in terms of its revenue. Maybe we're just seeing at the beginning of a shift in terms of how to get deals done. Just pay that asking price day one. It may end up being cheaper for you in the long run. Staying with Chelsea, Ben, there's talks that the deal for Olise is becoming ever closer. What's your understanding regarding that and Chelsea's pursuit of the young winger from Crystal Palace?
Yeah, Chelsea was sort of weighing up Mohamed Kudus and Olise, and it looks like they're moving in the direction of Olise. The personal terms have never really been a problem. And in fact, there was a, broadly speaking, agreement on the player side for quite some time. So Chelsea have always been close on that side. It's just about the package. And there's always been this dispute and these conflicting sources about the so-called release clause that Olise either does or doesn't have. Some sources had indicated it was there, and others have made it clear that it was removed. So Chelsea have had to explore that situation to work out what's possible. What I know at this point is that the previous reports of 35 million being the number are incorrect to my knowledge. So if Chelsea are to proceed here, it's going to be a deal more like at 45 million. And then we have to wait and see whether that is matching any kind of clause to trigger the move, or if Chelsea, as they prefer to do usually, pay a bit more and try and get a deal which is on their own terms and structure. So Palace have always had the position they don't want to sell. They're adamant that he's part of their plans, which is why if there is to be a clause of sorts, it will obviously benefit in many ways Chelsea, because then they can take Palace out the equation.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Good player, good at what he does in terms of the attacking sense there. I'll just read one of these comments that come through. How can Chelsea get away with spending $1 billion? It's crazy. Well, again, amortization and spreading those costs over long-term contracts is why. AA here says, what is it with Liverpool? Why a player like Caicedo wouldn't want to accept them? It's London and a better contract was a big reason. There's a lot of speculation that Chelsea are only getting all these players, Ben, because they're prepared to pay. They're basically overpaying. They're just going down the mercenary route of just offering ridiculous wages, ridiculous salaries in comparison. Is there any truth to that as far as you're aware?
No, I think that it's a different project. It's as simple as that. And the Chelsea project is to offer long-term contracts and incentives, and people are buying into the Pochettino era. They are being well compensated. But remember, Chelsea are in a phase without European football. And in addition to that, they have incentive-driven contracts. So if you walk into Chelsea now, your number might say one thing, but it's only going to go up to that number if you get European football. And everyone at Chelsea that's part of the new incentives has had a decrease as far as their package is concerned. So it's not all about money at Chelsea. It's about project, and it's about patience for a player. And when you're a young player and a club like Chelsea come along and say they want to invest, it's really important to that player because they feel like they get a pathway there. And of course, the Chelsea notion is to pay these young players more. And then when they grow into their price tag and their potential, and Lavia, remember, is only 19 years of age, suddenly Chelsea are the ones that get the great deal. Whereas Liverpool perhaps are a bit more conservative at this stage with a 19-year-old and the wages they might offer, but it's more consistent in terms of the project, and there is European football. So with Lavia, you can argue it both ways. With Caicedo, I think that the turning down, in inverted commas, of Liverpool was just down to the fact that they entered the race too late. So Liverpool had Caicedo on their radar when he was at IDV, but they didn't want to do that deal because there were all kinds of hidden costs and agents' fees. And they've tracked Caicedo without ever moving. And by the time they moved, Chelsea had done all the legwork. So Caicedo had locked in his plans for the season. He somewhat forced the move to Chelsea. It was simply too late for Liverpool. It's not a snub on Liverpool as a football club or an institution. It's just the fact that Chelsea handled the player side a little bit better. And that's why Caicedo ultimately ended up picking the move to Stamford Bridge. He'd already spoken to Chelsea players. He'd already planned for that move. It's a personal decision as well as a professional decision. And I think that that's always worth pointing out, that footballers don't just make their decisions based on football. Declan Rice wanted Arsenal for Arteta, for Champions League football, of course, for money, but also because it was the right move for him and his family. And it was London. James Maddison, the same, wanted to move to London, decided to join Spurs. Newcastle became aware of that and moved in another direction. So sometimes we make this about one club being better or one club being bigger, but it's just about a right fit. And of course, the finances are one part of that. Yeah. And I think the last thing I'd say with Caicedo is that everyone's wrongly saying that Paul Winstanley somehow handled the negotiations and as a co-sporting director couldn't get that deal done, and then the owners had to step in. And that's simply untrue. Chelsea's process is collaborative. And one of the reasons they got Caicedo was because Paul Winstanley has a relationship with the player and has known the player since he was 15 years of age or something around that time. And then towards the end of the deal in the final negotiations, Bedag Eghbali did drive and be a big part of it. But that doesn't mean that when Stanley wasn't involved, it's kind of a team effort. So Chelsea have done quite well at throwing people at negotiation. Yes, throwing money at negotiation, but also being fast. Whereas Liverpool are a bit slower, a bit more consistent, a bit more methodical, and that also works sometimes. So I think what we're just seeing here is two different kinds of models. And ultimately, when the players decide between the clubs, it comes down to a bit of everything. It comes down to money, it comes down to narrative, it comes down to how fast you move, it comes down to the managers, it might come down to location. There's never one rule. So we shouldn't be billing this as Chelsea are bigger than Liverpool or Liverpool are bigger than Chelsea. We should be billing this as every transfer and player is a unique situation. And all of those variables that I outlined are the ultimate reason why they may pick one club or the other.
Absolutely. And I think that, there's a lot of people turning into, as this super chat here says, Liverpool fans turning into financial advisors on Chelsea's finances. I keep saying it to people. No one reads enough about their rivals. Chelsea are doing trying to raise funds for investment. They've got a number of new sponsors on the way. The fact that they've done a thematic review into their finances and reported themselves for mismanagement of finances in the past tells you they're all over this. The idea that they are going to accidentally come a cropper to FFP, in my opinion, is just crazy. We all know they're going to slow their spending down over the coming years. They've also got to save a lot of money, in my opinion, on these players if they do well when it comes to renewal of contracts. Because rather than having people on 4-year deals where in 2 years, if Caicedo was killing it, you might suddenly ask for 350 grand a week. They've got him tied in for 8 years. They don't even have to worry about renewals on these players for 4 or 5 years, which means their wage bill is probably going to remain far more static than rivals. Now, of course, if it goes wrong for Chelsea and these players flop, it's a different conversation, but you can't cross that bridge until you get there, as far as I'm concerned. Just in the interest of time, we're going to come back to Chelsea viewers in a little while because Ben's on a bit of a hard stop with us today because he's busy working in Saudi. I want to get you an update on the situation with Harry Maguire because a £30 million fee has reportedly been agreed between Man United and West Ham, but still some situations with payouts and personal terms, as far as I'm aware. What's the latest on Maguire's exit from United?
Yeah, it's the Manchester United payout, if you like, that's the issue at the moment. And West Ham still feel like this one is going to get done. I actually think that over the course of the last few days, they've been able to resolve the situation as far as personal terms with Maguire is concerned. So that's a positive. And it's now just about the manner of the exit on the Manchester United side. So still a little bit of time in terms of resolving that situation, but the likelihood remains that Harry Maguire will move. Manchester United have obviously been conscious to explore the market in terms of finding a centre-back. So that's a factor in all of this as well, because they need to make sure that they are covered. And this comes back to a point that I've made many times, which is that Manchester United are not necessarily that bothered if Maguire ends up staying, providing he accepts his diminished role in the team, which is partially why he lost the captaincy as well. So Maguire is a very positive influence at Manchester United, and they've allowed it to fall on the player as to whether or not he wants to stay or go. But if he goes, they'll be looking for depth. They'll be looking to find a replacement. And then from West Ham's perspective, they just want to get in a flurry of business to make up for what was a slow start to the window. And if they get in Maguire plus James Ward-Prowse plus Edson Alvarez, and the latter two already in, it becomes a very good window. So I think that West Ham are shaping up quite nicely all of a sudden. There was doom and gloom after they lost Declan Rice. David Moyes was under pressure for much of last season before they went on to win the UEFA Europa Conference League. And now suddenly West Ham look okay. They went into their shell a little bit. I was covering that opening game before I went to Saudi against Bournemouth, and they allowed, I think, Bournemouth to dominate too much of that game. They lacked a bit of a cutting edge. They lacked a few goals. They need to resolve now the situation of Lucas Paqueta, who started that game, and Manchester City, of course, are pushing, and Paqueta wants that move. So that could be the next big money transfer to look out for between now and the close of the window. But I think that Maguire to West Ham is looking like it is still going to happen. The key thing was agreeing the personal terms, and I'm told that they are now in place. So it is just about the payoff from Manchester United. And once that's resolved and Manchester United are confident of finding a centre-back as well between now and the end of the window, then I would expect Harry Maguire to end up making that move. And it's going to be good, of course, for him as well in a year where he has to play regularly if he's to keep his starting spot in the Euros.
I've said for a while, I think he's going to look good at West Ham. I think that stylistically, bit more pragmatic. They won't be leaving him as exposed. There'll be less one-on-one defending. The line probably won't be as high. I think all those elements he'll get respect again. Plus, there's not going to be foul compilations every game. The media attention will be off of him. And I think he'll flourish at West Ham, like a number of the players are looking at. I actually just think, I look at Paqueta looking to go to City, and I just think his style of football doesn't suit Moyes, same as Skamaka. But Ward-Prowse and the likes of McTominay and Maguire, I think it's just going to work better. I think the team will just look. I know they won a trophy last year, the first in many, many years, and they did impeccably well to get it. But stylistically in the Premier League, I just think it was a little hard for them. So I think they're making some good signings, to be fair, West Ham. Probably a little later than their fans wanted it to be done, but it looks pretty good indeed. Ben, I know you've got to shoot because you've got to jump onto some other things. Viewers, I'm going to stay with you. We're going to be bringing KJ onto the show to chat to us as well. Ben, always a pleasure to speak. Thanks for updating us on Neymar, Lavia, the situation with Olise and Harry Maguire, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon, bro.
All the best. Have a good week, everyone. Speak soon,
mate. Thank you very much. Indeed. Thank you. KJ is going to be joining me in a few moments to come on and have a little chit chat with us. In fact, he's here now. I'm going to change the scenery to this one and change it up. There we go. And add KJ in here. Viewers, we might take some calls from you as well. I'm going to share the link in the live comment section below. I know a lot of you want to speak. I know a lot of you want to go through different bits and pieces, but we're going to speak Paqueta as well on this show. But KJ, the Lavia deal just keeps giving and giving and giving. It's Chelsea 55 million agreed. Now Liverpool. Now you've got Tom Roddy saying that the player prefers Chelsea. Fraser Fletcher saying he prefers Chelsea. That deal is close. Talk to me.
Yo, this transfer window has been crazy. Absolutely crazy. Like this last couple of weeks, it's been mad. We all predict, to be fair, most of us did predict that if Liverpool were to go back to Lavia, especially with Chelsea agreeing a deal, they would have to bid 60 million minimum. And they've gone and done that. So Liverpool are really in this sticky position now where they're like, they can't hide their cards anymore. All the cards have been shown. They have to always go big now. Otherwise, teams are just not going to agree deals with them. Mm-hmm. But it's happening again. What is going on at Liverpool to the point where players are choosing a project with Todd Bowley and Pochettino and all these young players over someone established like Klopp and players like Van Dijk and Salah? If I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm worried. Like, I am very worried about what's happening at the football club because it doesn't actually make any sense. Surely one of the two would have picked you by now, but they haven't.
I understand. Do you know what I think it comes down to? And I'm not saying this is for you personally, but maybe a little bit. I think we've all been indoctrinated in the last 12 months to believe that Chelsea have truly gone. They've had a terrible 12 months. They've actually had problems at the club for 4, 5, 6 years that they haven't resolved. And their fans were saying that for years. Yes, we won the Champions League. Yes, we got to some cup finals with Tuchel, but it was papering over cracks. They needed a complete rebuild and a new direction. I'd said it for years that the Roman way of doing things was falling away because other clubs were catching them financially. So the idea of just sacking a manager, changing systems and styles and just spending money on players only works when there's only a couple of you in your league and or in Europe that can spend at that level. Now that you have 6 or 7 Premier League teams, if not more, that can do that, now that you have multiple European teams that can do it, you need to have a more of what I call a sustainable model, where there is a fixed style of football, a certain type of player stylistically that you sign and that you bring into your football club. There needs to be more of that. And Chelsea are trying to do it. Now, year one, that's what Todd Bowley and his group are trying to do. Year one, they got it wrong. But it doesn't mean the plan's wrong. It doesn't mean the vision is wrong. The execution they got they made mistakes in. They probably shouldn't have sacked Tuchel how they did. They went for Graham Potter, and they just got so much of that wrong. They really, really did. They probably should have waited with Tuchel. They probably shouldn't have removed so much of the old regime. There was too much change too quickly. But I think people have been indoctrinated into believing that that's it. Chelsea are done. They're finished. They're going to fall away. Why would anybody pick them? I believe behind the scenes, there is something. They are trying to build something that's very special. There's a comment that came out earlier when I was talking about their FFP and everything else. And it basically said, Terry, I can't wait to see you eat your words. Now, Chelsea may not build something special. It may not work. And you may hold the opinion that they will never get back to winning Prems and Champions Leagues again. And that's a fair opinion to hold. I'm simply stating, though, that they're still one of the most successful clubs of the last 2 decades. They've got ambitious owners. They are spending and investing money, and they are selling a brilliant project. It would take 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years of terrible seasons for people to start not believing in their projects, in their ideals, in the visions that they have as a football club. I think we all just got carried away with, oh, they've fallen off and come 12th. Who would pick them? It's nonsensical in reality. And with Liverpool, look, I just think it's a case of, I don't think it's an indication that they're falling, that they're one of the biggest clubs in the world. They always will be. I don't think this is an indication that Liverpool's powers have waned. I think this is an indication that they've just got to, again, start spending some more money. Look at Arsenal. Look at Arsenal. For the best part, barring a few deals they did, in the best part of 20 years, their fans celebrated having a much lower wage bill than City, United, Chelsea, Liverpool. They celebrated the net spend wars for many, many years. But look how much happier they are now. Now their club's gone, boom, 300k a week, boom, 250 a week, renewing all their players and not selling them, and going out into the market and landing their number one targets and beating away competitors. There comes a point where you have to change. And I think Liverpool need to adapt and go, listen, me and Ben Jacobs are talking about it. Maybe we're moving into the realm now of transfer deals where you have to just say, what's the asking price? 50 million. There's 50 mil. Just pay it and get out. You know, maybe that we're seeing the end of the low balling element because there's so many teams with money, so many teams with exciting projects. You've got Newcastle entering this fray, and Newcastle are already a danger. Give it 2 more years. It's crazy. That's the way I see it, bro. It makes sense.
I hear. And to be fair, this wasn't really my comment wasn't really about Chelsea, because I've been one of the people that's been kind of complimentary to how they're doing things and pretty intrigued to their approach, and I don't think it will fail. I actually think it will succeed in the long term, but right now it just looks a bit mad. It's more about my question of Liverpool, as in, is this, for where I'm looking at, is like, maybe is this the battle between quote unquote old money versus new money, with Todd Bowley being the new money, Liverpool being the old money? Maybe our players just seeing things differently. Are they seeing that actually this club are going to spend? I want to go there because they'll always be constantly improving. I'm just intrigued by and confused by Liverpool's position, not because they're bad, just because we hear their fans talk about their Paul Hassam, one call from Klopp and it's done. You know what I'm saying? Hassam and other Liverpool fans saying how big their club is. I'm just surprised that 2 young up and coming players who would actually get game time at Liverpool because they need a DM have both opted to go to the same team. It's just intriguing to me. It really is. And maybe Liverpool, they just need to change their approach and things. Maybe they just need to look at things and be like, we just need to do things differently.
It's about adaptation. It doesn't mean that there's elements of Liverpool that has run well. You just got to go right. The way and again, it's all about timing. Liverpool built one of the best teams in the world for Klopp, but it was in an era where Chelsea were kind of waning. Man United and Arsenal were nowhere. Spurs are Spursy. Newcastle didn't have their money. Villa weren't a great club at that point. City were amazing. And Liverpool were growing and getting better. They were picking up Manes and Salahs for 27 odd millions of pounds. They were picking up Robertsons. They had some good youth players that came through. They did spend big on certain other individuals. I'm not saying they had no competition, so it was easy. I'm just stating it was a combination of things. Now, I've been saying this for 2 years. There comes a point where if the Liverpool come to my football club and go, you know, that 25 million rated striker you've got, we want him. I say, 60 million then. Because maybe you think he's even better than I do, the fact you want to buy him. Because supposedly you find like rough gems and you polish them into diamonds. So we're going to start charging you for the diamond rather than the raw talent. This was always going to happen because I've seen it happen to other clubs in the past, and you have to adapt with the times. That, you know, the reason Blockbusters doesn't exist anymore isn't because online downloading of movies or renting of movies became a thing per se. It's because the majority of their income came from late fees. And when you could do it online, there was no more late fees. People adapted. People still loved going to the store, but they forgot to go back and they got charged more money. Downloading a video is not the same experience of a film, isn't the same as going to a store. If they would have found a way, Blockbusters, to maintain that without charging people, they would have maintained a business. Because I would still love to drive down to the video store, look at all the cases. It's different. But that's actually what killed them more so than downloads itself, because suddenly their income stopped because people were like, hang on, I get charged 10 quid to rent it from you because I get a 2-day late fee, where I can get it for $1.99, $2.99 online. I'm going to rather do that. That is what killed them. In their own words, by the way. You have to adapt or you die. I want to give an update as well. We're going to go to some calls in a minute. There's a big... Felix Johnson has put out a really interesting tweet. Felix Johnson has just tweeted this, that Liverpool's owners flew in for talks with the Premier League for clarification on Chelsea being closely looked at with their spending. Liverpool do not believe Chelsea's 800 million spending over the last 3 windows complies with Premier League rules. Liverpool have prepared information to officially report Chelsea to the Premier League if they get confidence from the talk. So according to Felix Johnson, Liverpool Football Club are looking to report Chelsea for financial misdemeanors for essentially cheating in their pursuit of Lavia and Moises Caicedo. Liverpool Football Club doing up grassing here. They're doing up grassing, bruv. That for me is grassing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It looks pathetic. It looks pathetic because you're doing this after potentially losing out on 2 of your targets. You lost out on 1 in Caicedo. You might be losing out on Lavia. And now you're going to report them for financial doping or some financial unfair foul play. It just looks pathetic. I'm sorry. You just look like you can't do your job correctly. So what you're going to do, you're going to blame them for cheating instead of taking accountability for the fact that you guys are just not running the club good enough to win Premier Leagues. That's all it is. Nothing to do with Chelsea. Because if there was really an issue, you would have said something months ago. When you was getting a quad, when you was on for the quad, you would have been like, okay, this Chelsea guy, this Todd Bowley guy seems a bit weird. I don't trust it. That's when you guys would have been saying something. But now you want to do it because you're not getting your way. It's so sad. I mean, Liverpool fans, these are your owners, bruv. These are your owners. Take a look.
The thing is, I put a tweet out yesterday that I've had probably about 150 quote tweets from Liverpool fans reporting it to community notes on Twitter. And look, I have given a very basic breakdown the last couple of years where I've stated that Chelsea have only spent around circa £255 million of actual cash over the last 12 months. Because their average contracts were around 6 to 7 years when you actually break down all the deals that they've done. And they've actually, and this is what will show on their official trading accounts, balance sheets, etc., profit and loss accounts. But they've actually raised about £275 million in sales. So theoretically, just looking at the sales in and out during Todd Bowley's time at the club, they're actually up around 20 million. Now, they probably won't be in reality because there'll be legacy and historic payments on their books for signings from 3, 4, 5 years ago. But they also might still receive money for other things. They're increasing sponsorships. They've got a new shirt deal, which will be the 3rd highest in the league. They're doing about £500 million of investment raiser funds outside. I'm sure their owners have also pumped money into the football club. And like I've said before, Chelsea have grassed themselves up. They have found irregularities from the Roman era and gone to UEFA and the Premier League and said, look, we found these offshore payments. We want you to investigate. We don't want to get caught out in years to come. Now, maybe that's a double bluff. Maybe Chelsea are saying, you know what? Maybe if we act, maybe, you know, like you often see these people that are like, you get a lot of men that have been done for this in the last 5, 6 years, where publicly they're all about women's rights and they're these male feminists, which is nice. But then it turns out they're sex pests themselves. And it's almost they're behaving in a certain way publicly to try and like deter attention. Maybe Chelsea are doing something like that. Let's pretend we've found irregularities so they don't actually investigate us. But I don't really believe that Chelsea are doing that. Why would you bring attention to your club financially by reporting yourselves when the Premier League haven't discovered it themselves? So for me, I don't think Chelsea are breaking any rules. I think what they've done is looked at how the finances and transfers are done in the Premier League, in Europe, and gone, right. And I wouldn't even call them loopholes. They are just looking at smart ways to spend more money in the short term. That's why they're doing these long contracts. That is why they're amortizing. And now they're out Europe, we all laughed at them. They can now amortize over 8 years again now because they're not in European competition. So UEFA's new rules don't count against them. So again, they've gone, oh, wow, that works. I guarantee you they've probably gone to UEFA. They'll ask the questions. They'll say, this is what we're looking to do. Is it doable? And they're probably getting the okays. If Liverpool, if this is a true story from Felix Johnson, and Liverpool, by the way, this is not the way Scousers behave. Scousers hate the concepts of a grass. That in Liverpool is a crime. Being a grass for pretty much anything in Liverpool is a crime. Liverpool fans are going to be so embarrassed by this. Even if Chelsea are cheating, Liverpool being the grasses to a born and bred Scouser, and I know many of them, they will find grassing more embarrassing than Chelsea being cheats because you don't grass, especially for financial crimes where you don't have working class victims. That's all I'm going to say. Like if Chelsea were out there stealing pensions off the public, yeah, grass them up. Do you know what I'm saying? But they ain't doing that. Even if they're cheating, it's a case of like, can't beat them, join them. Find a way of you. It's like everyone tried to accuse Chelsea. Do you remember? Liverpool fans did this. They accused Chelsea of cheating with the Saudis. £60 million later, when they're selling players, suddenly I didn't see Jamie Carragher panicking and asking for investigations. Come on now. I've always had a lot of respect for Liverpool as a city. A lot of, you know, like the expression, being from the East End of London, a bit dodgy where I'm from. Liverpool can be a bit dodgy too. And I'm sorry if that offends people, but it's true. I've been to both places. But there was always honor amongst thieves. These men are out here grassing, bruv. They're out here grassing people up. Do you know what really funny? It'd be funny if they grassed them up, there was an investigation and Chelsea got cleared. Because then where'd you go? You're better off leaving it. You're better off leaving it as a conspiracy theory. Because at least then you can just say it. If there's an investigation now and Chelsea are cleared, then what? Mad.
There's a super chat here that relates to this. It says, if Liverpool have proof, they absolutely should report it. Nothing pathetic about that. We would be more pathetic for not reporting cheating. No, listen, Trevor, I know you're a Liverpool fan, clearly. Mate, it is pathetic because you're doing it because you're not getting the people you want. If you had signed Lavia or Caicedo, you ain't reporting Chelsea. If you had the most amazing transfer window, JW Henry they don't care about what Chelsea are doing because you're getting what you want. He's only doing it because them man are losing out on things and they can't take it. And it's not even Chelsea's fault. It's their own fault. So yeah, it's pathetic. I'm sorry. It is. It is.
Look, it just like I wouldn't. Yeah, listen. If you're up with your team to grass, that's for you, bro. I respect that, Trev. Thank you. Love the videos you do. Hope you enjoy your week, brother. No, I appreciate. Listen, thank you for loving what we do. Terry's got his head out of Arsenal's a-holes. Do you know what's really funny about that? For a while now, people are like, why are so many of your videos this summer been about Arsenal and Man United? Well, because up until the last week, Chelsea's signings have been sparse. Liverpool signed McAllister, which we did at the beginning of the window, and then it was 5 weeks of nothing, and Slobosly very early. There was nothing else to talk about. It was Arsenal were the ones making moves. Man United were the ones doing moves. Everybody else was doing niche. So it's not about not talking about them. It's about being fair. Thank you, Arjan, for becoming an official member. How do you get into the Superfan WhatsApp? I've already subbed. Are you a legend and super fan? If you're a legend, DM me and we'll send you the link to join, my bro. You have to be a legend member to join that group, bro. Already done that one, but it's a nice one, so I'll put it up again. If half of Chelsea signings turn out like Bebe, well, that's where you have a point. So again, that's where I hold my hands up. If lots of these signings fail, say 50% fail, then Chelsea have got some problems because they may not be able to sell at much profit. They wouldn't be able to spend at this level again because then you're building up debts that become very hard to manage. So there's always a way this can go wrong. There is. Of course it can. But that's nothing to do directly with FFP. That just may stop them spending at this rate in years to come. So, yeah, look, it's going to be very interesting indeed. This year says, Terry, it's very embarrassing that you've joined all the other media outlets and jumped on the bandwagon of the Chelsea pussy hole saying love you for going to them when it's when it's all bullshit. Liverpool 60 million bid. Well, I've said on the show that it's been accepted. All I'm doing is reporting what journalists are saying. The same as, by the way, early hours of Friday morning when I got my ass out of bed at 2:30 when Ornstein dropped his dagger and said you'd agreed a deal for Caicedo and that personal terms were a formality, paperwork was being completed, and that the medical would happen the next day. I reported on it and I praised Liverpool. And I said to Chelsea fans, how do you feel? What reaction do you want from your club? I'm treating Liverpool in exactly the same way. The difference is when I praise a rival club, I'm called unbiased and amazing. When I criticize a rival club, I'm supposedly having an agenda. It doesn't make sense to me, Ted. I understand you're hurting. I understand you're fearful. I understand you're in pain. But, sir, that's not my fault. Dan here says, clubs who want to spend will always find a way. Clubs who don't will always find excuses, just like Liverpool are. Pathetic fan base, pathetic football club is what Dan says here. Trev, I'm a Gooner. Okay, you're a Gooner, not Liverpool fan. Fair enough. Fair enough. But still, yeah. I'm just not about this grassing thing, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? There's a part of me that's like, again, if there was leaked, look, the City situation is different. If there was leaked documents that came out that showed Chelsea were cheating, then fair enough. But I don't understand what evidence of it's almost like we don't think they're doing it right. Investigate them. What evidence have you got? Not much. Do you know what I'm saying?
They're saying it said if the talks go well with the Premier League, that's when they'll tell them to investigate.
Yeah.
Like they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's like your next door neighbor buys a brand new car better than yours, and you're like, I'm reporting him to the tax office because he must be doing something dodgy. Just because you're angry that he's gone out and bought a Rari and you're driving around in a Ford Cougar. Do you know what I'm saying? Modest here says rumors are after Olise, Chelsea will move to sign Costa from Port. Listen, if Liverpool pull off Costa as well, then I'm grassing them up. Then I'm G'ing them up.
No way they can do Caicedo, Lavia, Olise, and Costa in a space of a month. There is no way. If they do that, I might have to be Randall FC as well. I might have to turn into Randall from Recess and join.
Breaking news. Where's my breaking news thing? Here it is. No music on that one. West Ham United have opened initial talks to sign Mohamed Kudus. They are targeting him to replace Paqueta should Man City pull this deal off. West Ham in for Mohamed Kudus. That is from Fabulicious himself. Fabrizio Romano has put that out there. That could be a deal.
David Moyes, stop buying these men that don't want to do up ham and cheese football. Stop, man. Stop it. Stop it. You just got rid of Skamaka. Paqueta about to go. Kudus ain't about that life. He ain't about that life.
Do you know what it is, bruv, right? I love seasoning on my food. Everybody knows that, right? But there are certain things that have to be made, like a ham and cheese sandwich, butter and a little bit of mayonnaise is perfect. I went in a restaurant, like a place once, like a sandwich shop, and they put some spicy mayo on that sandwich, and it ruined it for me because it's like, this isn't meant to taste like this. There's certain things that you don't change. You eat it. Have you ever been to like the States and they do their own version of fish and chips and it's nothing like proper fish and chips? What is this, bruv? And I'm sure, I mean, it's like, do you know what this is? West Ham buying Mohamed Kudus is like Jamie Oliver jerking rice.
Yes.
That's exactly what this is. This is Jamie Oliver jerking rice. And I don't mean that rudely. Mohamed Kudus is a baller, but when he's being told he's basically going to be sitting in a CDM position for large parts of the game, I don't know if it's going to work, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's a crazy one. We're going to bring some Chelsea fans on to have a little say now. We've got Anthony, we've got a man like Kai, and we've got Chelsea Dan that are all backstage here as well. Kai, long time no speak, mate.
Yeah, man.
Liverpool fans out here, they want to grass you up, bruv.
Liverpool fans, man. The Liverpool fans are the kind of people to complain to McDonald's that the cheese is not properly melted, man. So I'm not gonna go into that fan base, man. But yeah, with Chelsea, man, I knew we are gonna get Caicedo because Liverpool fans they still think it's the first division, man. They live in 3 decades ago, man. Like Hasi Hassan, Chelsea have no history. What are they going to do? How he's going to choose us because he wants history and prestige? That's not how it works. History and prestige for the last 20 to 30 years. Chelsea have 5 Premier Leagues, and Liverpool have one. In the lifetime of both Caicedo and what's his name and Lavia,
Lavia.
Liverpool has been finishing 7th and 6th for the majority of the Premier League. So I don't understand why. Where does this come from? All this like prestige comes from, bro. But yeah, man, I knew it's gonna happen. I knew it's gonna happen, and I'm glad it did because they need humbling. They forgot what's been happening for the last few decades. So and I'm happy with Caicedo in general. I wanted Caicedo for years. Caicedo and Enzo was my. You can dig up like tweets that I had from last year that I wanted both of them at Chelsea, and I'm over the moon. It happened. It could not happen against a much club that I hated much more than Liverpool, man. It's amazing, man.
Your impression of Hassan was very good as well, by the way. Very, very good.
Hey, man, I'm half Middle Eastern, bro, so I can do it.
Yeah. I was going to say you were rolling the tongue perfectly, and as you say, that's half your culture, so you're allowed to do it. I'm not. Chelsea Dan's here as well. What are you saying, bro?
It's too salty. Liverpool is just salty, crying, can't have their own way. When it comes from a long way from Starbucks, because we get a Lavia. Oh, we ain't got the money to spend. How they're doing it? Like, we ain't got no money to spend on Caicedo. They ain't got money to get the Lavias and all that. Don't you know we made profit, Liverpool fans? Stop going up on your high horse shoes and being salty because your FSG ain't doing nothing for you. Don't spend money. You lost on the Jude Bellingham. You lost on the Enzo Fernandez, the Amrabat, and you're crying like bitches. Sorry, man. Go to the fish and chip shop and get some salt and chips because that's what you are. You're bin dippers. Bin dippers FC for a long time, and you can't seem to cry like bitches and say that you're the biggest club. Caicedo rejected yous. There must be something going on with your club, man. You're in the mud. You're a long way from Starbucks, mate. And us Chelsea fans, yeah, are loving it. We're loving it. You could cry more. You could cry more. Report us, because we don't cheat. We do not cheat. We have money. We spend money, yeah, on wise. And that's how we do it. Fair enough. Do you know what? Todd Bowley, Barley, you put your balls out, yeah, to show these Liverpool fans, yeah, and the owners what you can do. Just to stop crying. Because the salt and chips is from Brighton. You could go there and be friends with the Brighton Eagles because we're loving it. Us Chelsea fans having a nice day in the restaurant, having a big glass of wine and Chinese or a nice proper money menu, yeah. Once we've got the Lavia and the Diego Carlos, we could spend. No one can't touch us. You have to understand the rifle fans, yeah, the FFP, yeah, and the FA can't touch us. Cannot touch us. So
I hear
please stop being salty.
I hear your passion. We've got Anthony here with us as well. How you doing, bro?
Very good, man. I don't know how to follow that up, to be honest. That was quite epic, to be fair. But just to ask you guys a question in the panel, to be honest, right? These clubs have been lying to us our whole lives. They said this is the amount that we could spend in a transfer window and all these things. But who is to say that what we are spending may be the actual amount that we could like clubs could actually spend? Like we really don't know about it because no one actually knows what goes on inside the club. But regardless of what is happening, I like our owners first they said they don't know nothing about football. They made mistakes. However, they've kind of rectified their mistakes and done so many things in the correct way, and they have put their money where their mouth is. And at the end of the day, going home and crying to mommy about us spending isn't the answer. Put your money where your mouth is. Give what your club needs. Give Klopp the signings he needs to take Liverpool to the place where they belong. At the end of the day, I'm not here to laugh at Liverpool because, to be honest, it's like a waste of my time to laugh at them at the end of the day. Because why would I spend my time laughing at them at the
I'll
end
do
of
it for you. I'll do it in your
No,
behalf, man.
bro, go ahead because at the end of the day, you know what? I have more time to be happy at my club, spending the money on Caicedo and getting what we needed for our club, rather than laughing at someone else and wasting my time over someone else, to be honest. And the bin dippers can do what they want to do, go and laugh and cry about mom, cry to mommy, saying that these guys are mommy, this boy spent $20 more than me. I don't need to. We can't spend more money than all this bloody nonsense. Just go do something right for your team. Go do something right for your fans. Make your fans proud rather than anything else. That's basically all I have to say.
I hear you. We're also joined by Safe. What do you want to say, Safe?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Long time.
Yeah, certainly
Long
is.
time, man.
What do you want to
Yeah,
say?
man. What I want to say is I wanted to talk about Ten Hag.
We're not talking about Man United on the show. It's a Chelsea Liverpool stream.
Oh, Chelsea Liverpool. Okay. By the way, Liverpool, yeah, you guys are cunts. How
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, man, it's an endearing word in Scotland, bro.
Oh,
You didn't say that C-U-N-T word. Oh, you
man.
can't say that on YouTube.
I don't, is he wrong though? Is he
Guys,
wrong though?
genuinely, I apologize. I did not know he was going to come out with that. Like, he's gone. We can't be having that. Jesus Christ, chill out. Like, it ain't that deep. It really ain't.
They haven't done anything wrong to him, man.
Yeah, that's just mad. That's
It's
just mad.
Liverpool. Liverpool does it to people, Terry. Just the fan base. That's annoying ass song. The song that they have is like "You Never Walk Alone." It's annoying, man.
Jesus.
Caught me off guard, to be honest.
Let's stay nice. Let's stay nice.
Okay.
Jesus. I'm going to go to somebody's super chats here. Let's try and keep it as clean as we can, please, people. Amrabat and a centre-back would be amazing for us United, but we need another attacker. Donny plus cash for Kudus is such an easy and smart bit of business to do. Why aren't we all over that? Yeah, I'd like him at Man United personally. If someone like Donny leaves, I agree with you on that. I think he'd work wonders at Manchester United. Didn't know Devo supported Chelsea. Use Devo. I don't know who that is. I'm sorry. Thank you for the super chat, though, bro. Gary here. Thank you very much for becoming an official member of the Football Terrace as well. Look, people, I'm going to bid you farewell. We're live at 6 today. It might be made a little bit early, but right now it's 6 o'clock for the Top 6 show. Go over to the link now. Bookmark it, like it, get ready for it. It's going to be an epic show tonight, reviewing the weekend's game, previewing Man United, and by then maybe we have some big answers about these transfers as well. Viewers, thank you all. Super chatters, thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you.